Hey everybody, welcome to Geeksvana. I hope everybody is extremely well. Let me just turn that down very slightly. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, this morning, evening, whatever time it is in your time zone. I really appreciate you all coming out to talk about what is a very, very important story, frankly, and really the message that I feel is really behind this particular story. We really need the temperature around drone flight in the UK and indeed the world to cool down a little bit. The misconceptions, which are often completely based on fake news, such as the so-called drone incidents at Gatwick Airport and the continued demonization of the drone hobby by the mainstream media, have led to situations that could end up getting quite dangerous, frankly. Today, we're bringing you some breaking news along with what is some shocking footage of a drone operator here in the UK being approached by a man who is happy to confirm he's been shooting at their drone and also happy to brandish the weapon in confrontation with them, allegedly discharging that weapon during an altercation. Firstly, let's take a look at the footage released by a family member of the drone operator. It's around 30 seconds, so I'll let it play a couple of times and we'll come back and talk about it.
Yeah, it was me, sir.
Sorry?
It was me.
I was shooting at it.
Well, that's illegal.
Yeah, well, don't over my
No,
house.
it's totally legal for me to fly over your house,
I
sir.
don't care. I'm going to
Please,
fire at
sir.
it. If you bring it
Please,
over my
sir.
house, I will fire at it. You do not come over and take pictures of just hovering above our house.
Taking pictures of this
You
house.
are right over our garden.
Okay.
If you do it again,
Yeah.
I will fire at it again. I took 3 shots
Don't
at
point
it and
that
I
gun at
missed.
me.
Don't point a
Point
drone
that gun
at me. Don't do that.
Yeah, it was me, sir.
Sorry?
It was me.
I was shooting at it.
Well, that's illegal.
Yeah, well, don't over my
No,
house.
it's totally legal for me to fly over your house,
I
sir.
don't care. I'm going to
Please,
fire at
sir.
it. If you bring it
Please,
over my
sir.
house, I will fire at it. You do not come over and take pictures of just hovering above our house.
Taking pictures of this
You are
house.
right over our garden.
Okay.
If you do it again,
Yeah.
I will fire at it again. I took 3 shots
Don't
at
point
it
that
and I
gun at
missed.
me.
Don't point a
Point that
drone
gun
at
at
me. Don't do that.
So we thank Fabien Darcy, who's the family member who originally shared the footage, for allowing us to share the video in an attempt really to raise awareness of the issues that some people are having right here in the UK. Let's read the thread that Fabien actually posted along with the video. Firstly, he said that a family member of mine is a licensed commercial drone pilot and films properties for estate agents. He's often challenged by neighbours who aren't happy with their property being filmed, and always records the interaction to cover himself. Very good advice. After a civil conversation, the second post, after a civil conversation, he reassures members of the public that the property isn't in the footage and advises them that what he's doing is completely legal and provides the necessary paperwork to support this, and shows how the drone is always above the legal limit of 50 meters. They discussed it, which I presume is the sort of the guidance in terms of privacy. 3, normally it ends peacefully and he carries on with his work. This time he was threatened with a gun and shot at for doing his job. 4, the fourth post, the video ends following the guy poking my family member with the gun and smashing his drone case with his finger on the trigger, at which point they both entered into a physical struggle as he thought the guy was really about to shoot him. The man shot at the floor during the struggle, only missing him by inches. He was able to disarm this madman, as he puts it, and threw the gun away, at which point he attempted to retrieve the gun. 6, thankfully my family member was able to kick the gun away from the man. He then jumped into his car and fled the scene. Police... In terms of police action, it says here that police arrested him moments later. Armed response were very quickly there, but was then released back into the public less than 12 hours after the incident took place. Now, Geeksvana has, of course, reached out to the police force involved to get their comments on the situation. Not sure how much we'll get if it is an ongoing investigation. And we will, of course, bring you any updates that we do receive. So keep an eye out on our Twitter and the community tab for that side of things. So let's really just let's break this down a little bit, shall we? So we have here what sounds like a responsible and professional drone operator going about his business and flying his drone completely legally with insurance and the necessary certification. Sadly, it appears that the drone operator has these kind of interactions regularly, which is really sad to hear. I do hear this from other professional operators in particular who have to operate within urban areas, causing him to go prepared to any job to defend his actions and demonstrate to any neighbours that the drone flight is legal and not capture any data about them that would identify them, etc. And of course, if you're out and one of your main roles is to take photos and video for estate agents, then of course you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be coming across a lot of neighbours, because you're going to be flying over a lot of other people's houses, as this one as happened here. However, despite taking these precautions and preparations, he's still often approached and harassed for flying his drone, this particular time in rural Cirencester. Now, we don't have the response of the gentleman involved who is brandishing the weapon, but frankly, I can't see any world where his response is in any way justified, frankly. Leaving your property with a handgun, okay, it's a BB gun or an airsoft gun or something like that, which we can see, obviously looking at the footage here, we've got time to look at the images, we've got time to look at the footage and see that this wasn't a live firearm, this is a BB gun or an airsoft gun or something. But still, it's extremely intimidating when someone comes out of their property shouting expletives and promising to shoot at their drone. It's a highly irresponsible thing to do, and I'm sure, as many of you feel, is highly shocking as well. Closer inspection, as I say, does show that this is something like a BB gun or an airsoft gun or that type of thing, but it really doesn't change the situation in terms of the heat of the moment, especially when you bear in mind that the drone operator the entire time was calling him sir, trying to calm things down. He's clearly used to having to deal with these irate neighbours, as he's stating. Now, one message I want to put out, because I'm aware that this video is going to get hopefully a slightly wider audience in terms of the non-drone community, the non-drone flyers. So for anyone who's watching this video who is outside of that so-called drone community and industry, it's important that you realize there was nothing wrong with what the drone operator was doing. He's flying a drone to capture footage and pictures of a house that's for sale. Now, I'm sure we have all enjoyed looking at that kind of footage when we're looking for a new place to live ourselves. Drones are nothing to fear, and there are actually very good legal mechanisms in place to help police deal with illegal drone flight very quickly and efficiently. So contact local police if you're worried about a particular drone flight, as is recommended by the UK airspace regulator, the CAA. The vast majority of drone flyers are not out to record you in your garden. In actual fact, if you can see the drone, it's unlikely it's looking at you. If the drone's somewhere above your property, etc., then the camera will most probably be trained on something else. Frankly, there are actually fewer restrictions on most of the professionals you will come across on a daily basis than someone flying their drone under an operational authorization from the CAA. So trust me, they are looking to protect their income, their profession, very much, and they're unlikely to do anything stupid and irresponsible, which is why you don't see those kind of stories up in the press every day. This situation we're reporting on today, it is scary and an extreme response, but it does show that the public have the wrong idea about drones and drone operators. In my opinion, these misconceptions are there really because of fake news and sensational headlines. For instance, you might be surprised to know that of all the airliner reports of drones flying close to them, none have been proven under the official Airprox investigations. Most drones flown here in the UK will actually also be found to be the sub 250 gram camera drones that will cause little to no harm or issue, even if they were to have an error and fail, which in itself is extremely rare. This kind of interaction cannot be allowed to continue when the drone flyer is clearly doing everything they can to avoid confrontation and even educate the public as they go. So really also what we need to see here, we need to see a situation where the drone operator starts to get protected, starts to get some of the protection that we often see lots and lots of releases from the authorities that are talking about the drone rules, the drone regulations, keeping the drone operator in line. And those of us who are responsible drone operators respect this and actually carry that out and carry out our flights within the regulations. But what we need to start seeing is more protection in terms of, yes, of course, protecting us, of course. If that operator called the police and they responded, fantastic, and any appropriate legal action, criminal action, etc., will be taken, I'm sure. But what we need to start seeing is, from a publicity point of view, is not just publicity on the side of things of these are the drone rules, make sure you follow the drone rules, and lots of tweets out there, etc. Hey, if you're flying this weekend, there's this no term, there's that no term, which is fantastic. But we also need to start seeing a lot more public perception of the use of drones being positive, and this needs to come, in my opinion, from all of the authorities, from government and regulator. The police to a certain extent, but they do quite a lot in terms of trying to show the hobby and the profession to be good in terms of how they share their flights. So let's pop over to the chat very quickly and see how people are responding to this. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming in. I really do appreciate it. Andy Cortez is saying he should start a TikTok challenge where he invites everyone with an illegal firearm to pop round into their belly button, saying it doesn't hurt. These numpties will probably believe it and do it. Yeah, indeed. And it is social media, and that whole side of things has certainly had a negative impact. Mark's escapades, surely this has to be an air rifle or BB or Nerf gun or something. I'm assuming we have heard about this on the news a long time ago if someone had gone crazy with a real gun in the UK. Absolutely, yeah, and that has to be the context of that has to be taken into account as well. What else is people saying here? P-Nexus, I once had some guys from a nearby model plane club come down to where we're flying FPV drones, and they turned on their equipment on purpose to effectively jam us. That's really bad. That really isn't what we want to see happening, frankly. And also Mark says, I used to work for BT Openreach, and being shot at while up a telegraph pole is part of the job. Haha. That's shocking, actually, Mark. That really isn't something that we want to hear. And XJet says, I guess the Google Earth satellites are in trouble now. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think his BB gun, airsoft gun, will actually reach the satellites when he's shooting at those. But yeah, absolutely. It's not going to get any other data from that. XJet also says, imagine how this will play out in the USA once remote ID comes into effect. They don't use air guns there, they use real guns. And that really is part of the issue. And, you know, everybody knows that here at Geeksvana, I very much respect the drone regulations. It's something that I try to educate people on and try and get particularly flyers here in the UK to follow. But the remote ID side of things in the US is a real concern from the point of view of putting the pilot information out there. Obviously, in this scenario, it was very easy because it's an urban area. The chap stood on the side of the street flying his drone, capturing a neighbouring property to the gentleman with the guns house. And so it was very easy to find the operator in that situation. But actually having something that people will know they can look up and, oh, there's the operator, and actually go and find them, it just doesn't seem to be a safe way to have that regulation, or a fair way, or a balanced way to have that regulation happen, frankly. Look at what else people are saying here. FAMG FPV, good to see you. If you're new here, by the way, do hit that subscribe button and like button, especially for updates on this story. So many people say, if I see a drone over my property, it's my right to shoot it. People need to be re-educated for sure. Look at the way he has no knowledge of gun safety. Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Whether or not this was a BB gun or an airsoft gun, etc., and those of us that know anything about guns can fairly quickly work that out. For someone with no knowledge of weapons whatsoever, that's a scary situation. That's a fairly real-looking gun, and someone's brandishing it in your face. That's what that was being done for. It's being done to create the alarm. It's being done to back up the threat of saying, you know, you don't effing fly your drone over my property. And he was quite happy, as the video shows, he was quite happy to flail this gun around, frankly. And John Kubianzi, answering FAMG, says, big problem here in the Midwest US. I find most people think they own the sky above their property. And yeah, John, that is a big issue. And that, I think, as we see more urban flight here in the UK in particular, I think we need to start seeing more education about what those urban flights are, what is legal and what's allowed. Obviously, it's slightly difficult from the point of view that it depends which drone and it depends on the license. But let's start by telling the public that actually drone flight isn't illegal, and that drone flight is allowed in urban settings in the UK now, even by hobbyist drone flyers under the right circumstances. So let's start there. Let's start at the position that drone flight's actually legal, and that drone flight is actually allowed under the existing regulations. And then concern about your privacy, concern about whether that drone flight is legal, etc., can all be stacked on top of that and can be worked out. But certainly we have to start with the presumption now, really, that the drone flight is legal and work backwards from there. We need education of the public for that, frankly. But if all they've seen is, you know, the Gatwick drone incidents and drone being flown close to a BA airliner and that type of thing, then unfortunately the UK public in particular, that's the only image of drones that they're actually getting, which isn't helping anybody. Nick Harborn, good to see you, sir. I can only praise the guy from not knocking him out, to be honest. Someone comes at me with a gun, airsoft or not, I'm properly going to put him down. And yeah, I have to say, just the whole approach, the fact that it was explained of what the drone operator does on a daily basis. He's ready to talk to neighbours, etc. He's obviously there representing his clients as well, the estate agent. So he's thinking about the entire side of things as far as his business is concerned, and acting really professionally. The fact that he called the guy sir as he comes running over the street and brandishing a weapon at him and swearing at him is absolutely commendable, frankly. And I think there's nothing here to suggest that the drone operator was operating incorrectly. If that changes, if we get news on that, then of course I will let you know. But certainly, even if you do suspect the drone flight isn't correct, call 101. Call the police and inform them. It still isn't a 999 situation. This isn't an emergency situation. This is a 101 situation. This gentleman has made it a 999 situation, an emergency, or a 911 for you guys over in the States situation, by coming out with any kind of weapon in his hand and threatening someone like that, frankly. PD Tech keeps it locked down and loaded with a I think I missed your first one there. I take my fishing bait catapult when I fly my drone at all times. Okay. I keep it locked away and loaded with fishing boil ready to shoot at anyone who approaches me on my drone. Now you give I think a smiley face at the end of there. I'm not sure if you're completely serious, but obviously I would not recommend going armed to fly your drone. What a bizarre thing to have to say. What a bizarre thing that the conversation worldwide about consumer drones has got to the point where I have to say, don't go armed to fly your drone. How utterly bizarre is that? And that comes down, I'm sorry, but that does come down to the sensational and fake news, the clickbaity news that's out there that is constantly telling us how bad drones are, rather than all of the wonderful things that people enjoy, from looking at properties with estate agents to life-saving situations that actually happens with drones all the time. And Fred Nimrod, I can't believe someone went out in broad daylight with what is classed as a firearm. I wouldn't like to be the one in court for that, guilty on film. No, indeed, and it is absolutely very, very shocking footage. He should be charged for carrying something that looks like a proper firearm too. I can see that point from the point of view that actually, to me, this seems offensive. And obviously, I'm not a solicitor. I don't have any formal legal training in those terms. But to me, this seems highly alarming. If that happened to me, and yes, I would work out fairly soon. I still don't want to get shot by a BB gun or an airsoft gun, frankly. I don't want someone brandishing it in my face. Just the principle that you're willing to take a weapon from your property out into the public and threaten someone with it seems to me to be an extremely serious situation. Chris Digitor, thank you very much for joining the Drone Club. I do appreciate it. You now get access to all the member emojis and everything else like that. John O'Reed, brandishing a pistol like that in the UK should attract quite a harsh response. The sale of airsoft ones were banned under 2006 VCRA and only allowed as part of a skirmish club in 2007. Yeah, certainly. And we've seen the headlines worldwide of airsoft enthusiasts being informed that they must make it obvious and not carry them in public, and you need to have certain colors on there and that type of thing to show that it's not actually a real firearm, whereas this one in the video doesn't seem to have any kind of indication that it's anything but for a normal civilian, etc. Jason G, my visuals, again, this is why I personally fly as far away from people as possible, but as hobbyists I have this option. For those working with drones, it needs to be in the media and the authorities make an example of him. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Jason. We don't have the choice like this guy does, as he's doing this as a commercial operation. This is how he's paying his bills, and he needs to be there. He needs to capture that property, and he's flying completely legally. And of course, he's taken all of the precautions to make sure that flight is legal, and is even willing to bring along the paperwork and actually explain to anybody that wants to know what he's doing. So he's out there actually educating the public. But we need to see much more public notifications, much more public information for them to see how to assess whether or not a drone flight is legal. I would love to see the same as we get these CAP notices from the CAA telling us exactly what we can and cannot do with our drone. I'd like to see some of those notices for the public in terms of informing them. And number one in big letters at the top should be, please assume the flight is legal unless otherwise informed, and that urban drone flight, even as a hobbyist, is permitted under the right circumstances. We need to start seeing that. Cryptoman 5000, that dude should not have been released so fast. In the US, he would have put get a dangerous hearing and probably spend 30 days locked up. Yeah, there's a lot of I mean, that's the information that's obviously been passed to us. We're still waiting for the police force in question down in rural Cirencester to comment on it, so I will come back, but that's the information as far as we have it. The droning of life, all children's toy guns years ago, the barrels had to be orange, that's right, so people could tell if a gun was pulled on them wasn't real. And indeed, you know, when you had young kids, 15, 16, who looked like grown adults walking down the road with a toy gun and it being misconstrued by people or police, there needs to have that. Hi, Big Bear Mark. Hope you're well. Good to see you, one of our channel members. And thank you for all of our channel members that have joined us today, including the new member. I appreciate you joining and supporting the channel in such a direct way. Mark says, this looks like something that would occur here in the States. Yeah, it does feel that way, doesn't it? It's crazy. Jimmy J, good to see you, sir. Newsflash, DJI to offer free jiu-jitsu classes with every drone purchase. Yeah, well, you know, that's again, it feels bizarre that we even have to make that kind of a flippant remark or joke, because this isn't something that should need to happen. And I feel like, even as someone that respects and follows the drone regulations, and I want others to follow that becomes quite a hard job sometimes when we're demonized so much, to the point where the public are assuming we're up to something nefarious for flying a small consumer-sized drone above someone's house. Matty's Drone Mod, I really hate to say or think like this, but this kind of situation is only going to get worse as long as these a-holes keep getting away with it. And yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in terms of action on this, Matty, but I agree with you. I mean, we had the situation with the drone that was actually shot out of the sky in the States with the shotgun, and the end result of that was that it might end up going somewhere if the pilot really pushed things, if the pilot really wanted to drive things through, was the impression that you were left with in legal terms. It was all, you know, people were trying to calm things down by paying for the drone and that type of thing. And that to me seems strange, that we don't get the automatic protection that so many other people would. Certainly the automatic protection if it was deemed that our flight was dangerous in some way. XJet, when I was 7 years old, I spent all of Christmas Day walking around the neighborhood with a couple of 6-shooters on my hips. Nobody called the cops, smiley face. Yeah, changing world. It's definitely a changing world. Fly Sky Drones, I think we should arrange a meeting at his address. Bulletproof jackets are optional. Yeah, I don't think, and this is the thing, I don't think reaction to reaction is necessarily the right thing, Tony. I think that we need to have more education and support from the very authorities that look to control drone flight and want us to stick to the rules. Great, I agree with that, but actually now let's try and have a situation where we are protected as well, and the education goes both ways in terms of educating the public just how good drones can be. And Mark, thank you for the $5 super chat. Really appreciate it. All the best to you and yours. Thank you, sir. So I'm going to play this clip a couple more times, take a couple more comments from the chat, and then I'll let you know as and when we get updates on this.
Yeah, it was me, sir. Sorry? It was me.
I was shooting at it.
Well, that's illegal.
Yeah, well, don't over my
No,
house.
it's totally legal for me to fly over your house,
I
sir.
don't care. I'm going to fire at
sir.
it. If you bring it
Please,
over my
sir.
house, I will fire at it. You do not come over and take pictures of just hovering above our house.
Taking pictures of this
You were
house.
right over our garden.
Okay.
If you do it again,
Yeah.
I will fire at it again. I took 3 shots
Don't
at
point
it and
that
I
gun at
missed.
me.
Don't point a
Point
drone
that gun
at me. Don't
Yeah, it was me, sir.
Sorry?
It was me.
I was shooting at it.
Well, that's illegal.
Yeah, well, don't over my
No,
house.
it's totally legal for me to fly over your house,
I
sir.
don't care. I'm going Fire at
sir.
it. You bring it
Please,
over my
sir.
house, I will fire at it. You do not come over and take pictures of this hovering above our house.
Taking pictures of this
You are
house.
right over our garden.
Okay.
If you do it again,
Yeah.
I will fire at it again. I took 3 shots
Don't
at
point
it and
that
I
gun at
missed.
me.
Don't point a
Point that
drone
gun
at
at me.
me. Don't.
So as I say, really shocking footage, and you know it isn't good. Even if you take the weapon away from the situation, and just someone coming up to you like that in public and confronting you for what appears to be legal drone flight, it just shouldn't happen. This doesn't promote. This is a guy who is carrying out his job professionally and responsibly by being overt and by being open about what he's doing. He's not hiding away. He's not standing 3 streets away and flying the drone beyond visual line of sight to keep himself safe, etc. He's acting professionally and actually following the drone rules. So really, he should be afforded the protection, as the wider drone community, drone hobby and industry and profession should be as well, frankly. Let's see what else here is in the chat before we head off. Please remember to hit the like button. Over 130 people watching right now, which I really appreciate. If you could all take a second just to hit that like button to help this get spread, so we can spread this news to people outside the drone industry as well, I'd really appreciate it. And of course, it helps my channel, which is fantastic. Let me have a look here. As XJet says to Carl's Corner, we all have obligations, liabilities and responsibilities of full-sized aircraft, but few of the rights or privileges. And that's an interesting one, actually, because we have Article 240 and Article 241 here in the UK. Article 241 is that you must not do anything dangerous with your aircraft which may harm people or property. I'm very much misquoting it there, and that one certainly applies to drones. The one actually where you can spend up to 5 years in prison for endangering the aircraft itself, so as in someone approaching you with your drone, SUAS, small drones, are actually excluded from that. So it feels like we're sort of, you know, hit with the hammer on one side, but they're not protected on the other, and that doesn't really sort of seem to really fit comfortably with me a lot of the time. Marcus, Idaho Quadcopter, good to see you, sir. I always try and be very unobtrusive when flying in parks, etc., for this very reason. Yeah, and it's a shame. It really is a shame, because we shouldn't have to hide away doing this kind of thing. PK Nexus asking, is there a longer full-length version of the footage? Nothing available. We'll pass this by the family member very kindly. This is out there on social media. It's out on Facebook and Twitter, etc., being spread fairly openly at the moment. But that is the total of it, because essentially what's explained by the family member on his Twitter feed is that once this happened, once you saw the altercation at the end there, and the gun went off and shot very close to him on the ground, he managed to kick the gun away, jump in his car, drive away and call police. As you can see, he had the hard case in his hand, the black hard case, with the drone in there ready to go. So he got himself out of there, which again, I think if I had that opportunity, I would be gone. I certainly wouldn't be standing around to argue with this guy for many reasons. Scott Photo, hi, great to see you. I hope the courts take this seriously and set a precedent for this kind of behaviour. I wouldn't know this wasn't a BB or airsoft gun and would have reacted to defend myself. Exactly. The escalation of this could have been fairly dramatic if the chap, in my opinion, taking the drone flight out of it and everything else out of it, just how he responded to someone approaching him with a weapon in their hand, I think he should be commended for his actions, certainly the ones that we saw on camera. Yeah, I'm not sure how I would have reacted to that. I think it would have been an extremely disturbing experience, frankly. Jonathan Jackson, great to see you, sir. How are you? He would have got more than knocked out. I swear the same trigger finger would have been broken for life. And Ray Kelly, was he arrested, Sean? Yes, armed police did respond, although we don't have the full public statement yet from the police force down in rural Cirencester. Yes, he was arrested, released 12 hours later. Of course, being released doesn't mean anything. It just means obviously he's not a danger to the public. So whether or not they removed the weapon, whether or not, you know, he was warned not to do it again, etc., that type of thing, I don't know. But him being released that quickly doesn't actually mean that there's necessarily no action going to be taken. So we'll have to wait and see on that one, and allow the wheels to turn. But I will let everybody know on that, certainly. And yes, so that's basically where I think we are here. Yes, Bruce XJet says at least now all commercial operators can add danger money premium to their flights. Yeah, I agree with that. Chris Forrester, is the courts in the UK are so behind at the moment, and the barristers now going on strike. It will delay things again. It could be years before we get a day in court. Exactly. I completely agree with that. So there we go. There's an update for you from the drone community, by the drone community. Again, if you're watching this and you're not a drone flyer, you're not someone in the drone community, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. But please be assured that drones are not there to harm you. My large audience right now in the chat here are either hobbyists or professional pilots who are either looking to enjoy a hobby that gives them a lot of mental health benefits, a lot of enjoyment, and actually help you in terms of the professional side of things with all the lovely footage you see on TV, all the way through to saving people's lives and through search and rescue. So we're not here to harm you. We're not trying to do harm. This gentleman was out trying to capture footage and pictures of a property to help it sell, which I'm sure as the UK property owners out there and US property owners out there watching this can appreciate, that's something that helps. So again, it's helping the situation, earning money, doing an honest living, willing to be polite even with someone coming up to them with a handgun, frankly, which I think is, again, I do think is commendable. So please, drones are not there to harm you. Drone flyers are not there to for any kind of nefarious reasons. Please assume that flight is legal. Please assume that flight is not looking to infringe on your privacy until you have very good reason not to. And have a chat with the person, have a friendly chat with them, and you actually might learn something about drone flyers and the legal side of drone flight. Okay, everyone, thank you again for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time on Geeksvana Live.